So I was going to make a video about this last week. I'm glad that I waited because what I've noticed, guys, is there is something that goes on immensely in Hollywood now. It's the hard sell. And you can always tell if you're paying close attention to these industries, you can always tell, especially if you're on X, when they're hard selling you on a property. So over the weekend, Zootopia 2 made just like all the money at the box office. It made like $556 million. It made $156 million here domestically. It made another $400 million overseas. $272 million of that was in China. Here's the problem though. There was articles going around about how this was in 2 days, it made $556 million. Well, no, it did not make it in 2 days because it was the Thanksgiving frame. It's not even a 3-day weekend.
Yeah,
it is a holiday weekend.
like
so
that.
they're lying when they do that. They did the same thing when they said this was the highest grossing movie in China, which was another thing that they were saying is like that this was the highest opening box office for a film in China. I did a YouTube short on it here. And the problem is with it is that it's not. The highest opening frame movie in China was Avengers Endgame. It opened to $330 million also over a 5-day weekend. So why do these studios and these outlets lie to you? Well, that's what they were doing with Predator Badlands. When it opened, if you remember correctly, when it opened, it made $40 million domestic. It made $80 million worldwide on a budget of $105 million. And they were saying it's like the best opening all time for a Predator movie. Here's the problem. It had a 67% drop in week 2. It made $13 million by week 3. It fell another 50% to $6.5 million. The break-even point, and it does matter. If we're going to talk about box office, if we are going to talk about the new best movie of a franchise, it matters to talk about whether it's making money or not. $262.5 million break-even point for this film if you take the traditional 2.5 times its budget. I even am gracious. I don't include marketing in there because they pull that shit from another department entirely. Doesn't even matter. That's on a different ledger sheet, and we all know how famous Hollywood is for their, shall we say, creative bookkeeping. Here's the problem. The hard sell is that it's now the highest grossing movie of the Predator franchise. It's sitting at $168 million, and if you look at it by the numbers for the franchise, so it's sitting at $168 million. It opened in 3,700 and let me see here. Let me double check here. 3,623 theaters, 3,725 theaters. The original Predator opened to just 1,623 theaters and adjusted for inflation made $172.2 million. Only 20% of its gross came from its opening weekend. Predator Badlands made 50% of its money just in opening weekend because everything is slop now. If you don't see it the opening weekend, then nobody cares. The spoilers are out there. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to manufacture cultural relevance. You will never have another moment like Arnie screaming, "Get to the choppa." You're not going to do that with this film. Nobody will remember it in T-minus 5 minutes. And you guys know, as I've said on the channel, this movie, right up my alley. Like 110%. I can't say that I love the Disneyfication of everything, but I am one of those people where unless I feel like a deep connection to a franchise, like I did like with, say, The Crow, when they take a different turn on these things, it usually doesn't bother me. And if it's a good time at the theaters, I'm not going to complain. What I will complain about is when they try to stick it to the chuds. Oh, look, your 80s franchise isn't relevant anymore. You're wrong. This movie, and Elle Fanning is great. Both Elle Fanning and Dakota Fanning are great actors, but it's not going to have the cultural relevance that the original film did. It would have been like if when Fall Guy came out last year, they were like, look how much better this is than the television show. Doesn't matter. They're not even in the same discussion anymore.
No, nor should they be. People need to go back and actually look. And by the way, it's not just the first one. I know the second one got mixed reviews when it came out, but that is an excellent sequel. It remains very tense. It actually ups the ante with the horror, and it does a completely new like location and dynamic, right? If anyone has not seen that movie, or it's been a while since you've seen it, or look this up on YouTube, go to the scene with Gary Busey in the meat freezer, the meat packing freezer, because there's this great setup there where Gary Busey is this government agent who's tracking this thing, right? And so he's got this all of the surveillance, and apparently they're luring the predator to this meat freezer because the predator won't be able to see them, with his night vision or something, right?
Well,
So
it's their body heat, right?
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember what the setup was exactly. But there's a reason why they're luring him here. Anyway, there is a great series of stalking scenes where these guys are picked off one by one in this meat freezer. It's just, anyway, point is, you used to be able to watch these films, even the Adrian Brody Predators movie. You used to be able to watch these films and you saw where attention was given to actually trying to create suspense. I did not get that feeling from this movie at all, and it's just a shame.
I feel like it's harder to create suspense when movies are predominantly CGI.
Yes.
Back when you worked in physical space, it was a lot easier to do that. There are episodes, I forget the name of it. I love the X-Files, but I can't remember the name. There was an episode in the first season where they have like an alien creature in the woods that's trying to escape detection from government agents, and it's shown from like a first-person perspective where basically the alien is the camera, and it's shot with like a wide optic lens, and it's got this frenetic movement as it's trying to hide behind bushes and all of this stuff and stay hidden. And it's great because it puts you in the eyes of this creature and it creates a sense of closeness to how, as they're trying to evade the public. Right? Much like in the original Predator movie with the way they use the nature around them as they're hiding, right? Like that was important. That was important to be there in the physical space and be against an actual bush or an actual tree as you hide, right? And it's very hard to recreate that.
So are they just totally on a green screen for something like?
I'm sure. I can't speak. I haven't watched like some creation for it, but for movies that are predominantly CGI, I have to imagine that a lot of it was like that. And the same thing kind of happened. It happens in a lot of franchises now, right? Now, I say the same thing where I do not like, for instance, when films got away from using, like prop pistols and went to rubber guns and airsoft. So I think it's a lot harder. First of all, when you shoot a firearm on screen, it never has the recoil of an actual pistol anyways, right? So they have to kind of
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have to fake it if they're going to at all. Sometimes you'll get sets that are even cheaper where the slide doesn't even cycle. So it's like it goes off, you see the case, you don't even see a casing eject, and you see like a puff of smoke, but you don't actually see the slide cycle through. And that takes you out of it. It depends on how much you pay attention to firearms. But when you watch the original Heat and you listen to the sound design of the way that the bullets sounded on set that day, that matters. And now when you see it, look, when they moved in the John Wick movies, which I love, and I think that those movies are fantastic, they went to they use not rubber pistols, but they use they don't fire real bullets, obviously, because a lot of times they're very close in a lot of those shots. They have to use what's called a non-gun in those scenes, which is something like you'll notice Glocks are notorious for this. You'll notice like if there's a close-up shot, not in John Wick, by the way, I'm just talking about movies in general. If you see an actor holding a gun on a person, a lot of times that gun will look particularly fake, and that's because they're using non-guns. But like in the John Wick movies, they've done a very good job of making it look real even when it's not. A lot of things aren't like that anymore, and not seeing the weapons fire is just one of the many ways in which an actor can kind of be pulled from their environment. There's a reason why the famous scene of Val Kilmer doing a tactical reload in the middle of the bank heist scene in Heat is so well known, right? Because he did it on set.
I know what you're talking about. I can even see it. I can even see it in my head.
Yeah. Like it's just as Hollywood moves away from reality, and look, they do this for budgetary reasons in a lot of ways. When they do it with CGI, it's because they need like 500 versions of it. Like Marvel will shoot an entire room of blue screen, and then they take this poor effects house and they're like, give me 5 versions of this scene so that we can see what it looks like. But the thing is, it disconnects you from reality. Like as it's not reality. Like it disconnects you from the fantastical. It disconnects you from your ability to buy in to what you're looking at there.
Right. I totally agree with you. And really when you think of when you put it that way, like in terms of the fact that even these actors are working mostly without that environmental context, that's got to make a huge difference too. But also there's just no attempt in this Badlands movie to even achieve a tone of dread. I think there was a clear calculation made by him, by studio executives, by the producers that they were going to take Predator. I guess they feel like the old horror path is dried up and they're going to take it in a more mainstream kid friendly direction, and maybe that's the right business decision, but I was really disappointed by it.
But that doesn't make any sense because horror is one of the most. I guess it doesn't really necessarily work for this film because it had a budget of $105 million. But horror is one of the only genres that seems to be a sure thing these days.
That is true. I just can't. Well, I don't know. Other people can correct me in the comments. I just can't imagine though watching that movie. You'll have to tell me if you do when you do finally see it. I can't imagine watching Badlands and thinking that is a horror or an unsettling movie or in any way tense or horrific or suspenseful or anything. Like it just, I'll grant you that the intro, the first like 5-10 minutes were compelling. To me, that was the best part of the movie, even though I thought it was kind of a ripoff of Klingons. I know you're not into Star Trek, but I do think that basically the Predators, unfortunately, have just mimicked Klingon culture. But I did think the first 10 minutes was clever and it was gory and violent and stuff. But then after that, it just became this buddy movie CGI fest. I just hated it. But anyway.
I want to draw your attention, if you can see the image here. This was a scene from the Marvel Secret Invasion series with Nick Fury, where he has they couldn't even bother to build him a prop gun. They literally put markers on like the bare bones of a pistol, and then built a CGI gun afterwards in a completely fake environment. And it's just like, bro, have your props department whip something up. It has to be cheaper than this bullshit.
I think, and what we're talking about here, it gives me a lot of appreciation for a movie like Dune, which also I assume is a ton of CGI, but feels very like material to me, and like there's something at stake. That's kind of a scary movie to me. They're movies, those Dune movies.
Well, that's Denis Villeneuve has that ability to build tension, and he uses a lot of those wide shots, and a lot of his work in those movies feels more like a painting to me. Those grand scale wide shots.
It's like Kubrick.
Yeah, so even if the shot doesn't necessarily, the movie doesn't do it for you, you can appreciate on a technical level, what that looks like.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.